Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and just as you thought things may slow down for a couple of days before the big derby match on Monday, they just start to speed up. Yes, very busy day in the transfer talk world. The rumour mill is spinning. It's not even opened yet, the January transfer window. We've already made 2 signings. We're being linked with several names. Departures are among us as well. We're going to have to try and cover this all in the shortest space of time possible, so let's just get right into it. If you haven't already, make sure to hit like and subscribe. It would be much appreciated before the bells. We want to get as close to 37,000 as we possibly can. So, yeah, down below, it's absolutely free. Make sure and hit both those buttons. Anyway, Celtic transfer talk today. We have got so much to cover. I woke up this morning and it was like a bombardment. Just news being thrown at me left, right and centre to do with people we're being linked with, bids apparently being made, and obviously departures as well. So we're going to start with the departure side of things because there's been an update on the Giakoumakis situation, which may shed some light on where he'll be come the end of the January window, and by the looks of it, it won't be at Celtic. So Football Scotland journalist Mark Hendry reported today that Giakoumakis is expected to leave Celtic in this January window. Now, this follows on from the news, obviously, a couple of weeks ago that broke that there was contract disputes between him and the club. He wanted an improved contract to keep him here at Celtic. Celtic weren't exactly offering what he was looking for, but we were waiting to find out what would happen, see if it was rubbished maybe, or even if there was an improved contract on the table for him. It looks as though this isn't going to be the case. It was reported by Mark Hendry that the offer put forward he's not happy with. And I think this has came to the point now where Celtic are looking to offload the striker and make whatever money they can. Now, I don't want to rehash a lot of the same opinion I've already given on this situation. I spoke about it, I think, last week on this channel, so it's relatively fresh anyway if you want to find that it is there. But we'll look at a striker who's, 28 years of age, a brilliant striker. I love him. I would love to keep him at the club if possible, but if we are going to capitalise on making profit and making money from him, now is probably the time to shift him. And if the club can't find a contract that's justifiable for him, then there's no point in keeping him around. And this is the point that I think is more relevant to talk about today. And that's maybe Giakoumakis since the return of football, since the return from the World Cup break. He hasn't featured heavily. He's been left very late on to be substituted, the same last night against Hibs as well. And a lot of people, it's like the body language police of John Kennedy, have been back out talking about him coming on the park and how he's not looked the same, maybe he's not looked as happy. Of course, we had that cryptic Instagram post as well. Is it likely that the reason he's not came on till later is because he's not happy, because Ange knows that he wants to leave, the club know that they're going to be pushing him out the door as well? Is that maybe the reason he's not seen maybe as many minutes as we'd usually see of Giakoumakis? Potentially so. It all sort of makes sense, but the word expected has been used here. It looks as though he will leave the club. Now, the thing is with Giakoumakis is I've not actually heard too many links. I've not heard him being linked with this club, yada yada. I think there's been talk of a move to Saudi Arabia, for example, which would obviously offer him the money that he's probably looking for. There is bucket loads of it in the Saudi Arabian League. So maybe he does head somewhere like there. But I think now, if the fact is, if he's available and clubs know he's available, we may see an increase in interest. We might see clubs from over Europe, maybe down in England, also look into the potential of signing Giakoumakis. But if the contract isn't there and he wants to move on, then it's probably, I think we should set ourselves up for the likelihood that he will. He'll leave Celtic in this January window, which is a shame because I love him. But he's a great striker. He's been someone who I've loved. He's been one of my favourite outfield players. He's offered something different to this side as well. And it's been a kind of shorter stint than maybe what we'd expected when we signed him on that initial contract. But, you know, if he has to go, he has to go. And I think a lot of people are getting really unhappy and rewriting it and giving opinions that are a bit out there. But I think the fact of the matter is, if he doesn't want to be here and he wants a better contract somewhere, he's not going to get it at Celtic. He has to move on. And in saying that, Celtic aren't exactly hiding away from potential replacements. And coincidentally then, Mark Hendry, the same journalist who broke the story on Giakoumakis, has let Celtic fans know that we have maybe lined up our potential replacement for the Greek striker. Kasper Tengstedt of Rosenborg in Norway looks to be on Celtic's wish list, as the headlines suggest. Yes, this could be our man. This could be the replacement for Georgios Giakoumakis, as we are one of a number of clubs looking into the 22-year-old striker. Now, if you do a bit of reading into Kasper Tengstedt, which I have been doing over the last little while here, not a bad replacement, to say the least. In the Eliteserien, the Norwegian Premier Division, 14 appearances, 15 goals, 9 assists in the 2022 campaign. Yes, 15 goals, 9 assists in 14 games. I think one of the things that stands out there, I mean all of it stands out really, is 9 assists for a striker. He's almost got as many assists as he has goals, and it's not a measly number. You're not talking 4 goals, 2 assists here. You're talking 15 goals, 9 assists. He is only 22 years of age, a Danish player who will obviously have aspirations of playing in the very impressive Danish national setup. But Football Scotland says that they understand Celtic have scheduled initial conversations with the striker's representatives. He is under contract till 2026 at Rosenborg, which must mean they will probably want a decently sized fee for the striker. But when you're putting up numbers like that, you've got a contract like that, it's probably one that they will find very justifiable. And if Celtic do bring in the money for Georgios Giakoumakis, then off of what I've read so far, this is a player that I'd be more than happy to see Celtic spend their money on. The article does go on to say that originally the club, Rosenborg, were looking for a fee of around £3.5 million, but I think after his very impressive season, a bigger price tag has been put on the player. Norway, very similar in the situation where in Scotland, you can't really expect a massive amount to be spent on the players coming from the league, just the way that the world works in football. So I don't know how much bigger we're talking than £3.5 million here, maybe 5-6 million. Of course, when you think about it, Celtic have been spending relatively bigger fees on players over the last couple of years. Jota signing for, that £7 million fee or whatever it was, and Cameron Carter-Vickers as well for around £6 million. Celtic have been splashing the cash. And the one thing with Giakoumakis leaving is you do need to replace goals. That is that. But you're losing a considerable amount of goals with Giakoumakis leaving the club. Over the course of his year and a half here, he's scored, the second or third most amount of goals at the club. And he has been obviously very prolific and influential when Kyogo was out injured. He was very reliable. We needed him. And if we didn't have him, we may have struggled. We may have not found as many goals as we actually did. We were lucky that Giakoumakis was just as good, for some maybe better, than Kyogo. So we probably do need to invest. We probably do need to spend £5-6 million on a striker if we're looking to fill in that gap immediately, and that's ultimately what you've got to do. You're looking at, going on to try and win a league title, then going back into Europe next year. This is a time now, if you were to sign somebody in January, to get them used to the system, get them used to the team, and try to get them scoring goals. So I think that if this is the option, and this is one of our top targets, we've got to seriously consider paying a kind of larger fee. Obviously, I'm hoping that we bring in a large fee for Giakoumakis as well, which does make it a lot easier. But he is the man who has been linked with the club. I think he's played for the under-21s. He has. The Denmark under-21s team, he's played 5 times, scoring 1 goal. So he's probably played alongside Matt O'Reilly as well. I'd have to fact-check it, but he's probably played. But at 22 years of age, with the return that he's given to Rosenborg, who are a team that we've played a few times over the past few years, they do get into European competition, he's probably no mug. And do you know what? Let's do it. Let's strike. Let's go for it. If Giakoumakis is off, we need to fill in the goals, as I said, and this could be the man. And then, obviously, one of the biggest points is he's 22, which means there is resale value. He comes to Celtic, he hits the ground running, and he scores goals. You're putting him on a 5-year contract, more than likely. This is someone who, once again, you're going to make profit off of. Obviously, you're relying on him coming. It could be an Albion Ageti, it could be a Georgios Giakoumakis. You never know what you're going to get. That's the gamble. That's football ultimately. But I think that the resale value, the age, the goals he's already scored for Rosenborg is enough for me to be like, yeah, I can get behind this one. And as Ange Postecoglou once said, we never stop. We don't stop. It doesn't end there. Celtic apparently front runners and have already made a bid for another player heading into this transfer window as well. A report claims that Celtic have made a move for a South Korean youngster. Right, here we go. Can I get the pronunciation right? It might be wrong. I'm hoping it's not. Kwon Hyeok-kyu. Hyeok-kyu. Apparently, Celtic have already made an offer, as the reports go. Someone playing at probably a lesser level than the player we just spoke about in Tengsten. He's been playing in the K-League second division, so the second tier of Korean football. He currently plays for the side Busan Park, but he's came back from a loan spell where he was in the top flight because he was completing military service or something along those lines. I think that's what the article said. He's very highly rated, and this is someone who apparently is a bit of a wonderkid over in South Korea, someone with a kind of very high ceiling, you could say. He could go a long way from what the reports are suggesting, and Ange Postecoglou apparently interested to put up, as the Daily Record said, a sizable transfer fee for the youth player. 21 years of age, central defensive midfielder. Interesting, because of course we've obviously been linked with Iwata, who we spoke about the channel a couple of days ago, who's also a defensive midfielder. So is that a conflict of interest? Is it one or the other? Are we going to sign both? I wonder how big a sizable fee is, because you're talking about ultimately someone playing in the second division of Korean football. So I don't know if sizable means sizable to Busan Park or sizable for Celtic. It'll be interesting to wait and see what happens. But yeah, he did make 19 appearances in the top division last season where he was out on loan, and is very much sought after from my understanding. A few teams interested. 21 years of age, and you're attracting interest at that age. You know, there is going to be teams battling out for your signature, but someone who once again looks fairly interesting. He's made 7 appearances for the under-23 side in South Korea, and it's very much believed that he will be challenging for a place in the national team set up soon for the senior squad, which of course, very good team, got to the last 16 of the World Cup just past there. Someone I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I know a hell of a lot about, because I don't watch Korean football. But highly rated, fairly large transfer fee, played in the top division, played at the Olympic Games, and of course, following on from the success we've already had in the Asian transfer market, could be another one with resale value potential there. It is kind of like, you know, the success for Ange Postecoglou's signings does majorly outweigh the ones like Abildgaard and Ideguchi, players that haven't worked out. My only concern is the same ones I said about Iwata for a central defensive midfielder. How easy is it to get in this team and get playing when you've got central midfielders who are playing really, really well? So we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, there you go. Apparently Celtic have made an offer. So that's all you need to know, really. And that does it. That's us for today. Wow, a long one. What do you think then? Giakoumakis away, Tengsten in maybe. That would be a good like for like, I would say, if that has to be the case. And then obviously the story we just talked about there with the South Korean Kwon Hyeok-kyu. I mean, 6'3" that boy is as well. Whew. Let me know what you think in the comments below. That's all for today. We'll be back on the channel tomorrow, hopefully, as well. And podcast getting recorded tonight. So yeah, see y'all next time.